over the last 37 years, did you try to quit smoking before?
Oh, girl. Okay. So there's the Russian hypnotist. There's acupuncture. There's acupressure. There's Chantix, Wellbutrin. There's every single year. Every New Year's Eve, I make a resolution, right? I get a clean slate. I see January and the new year as really a symbolic chance to succeed and do things different. And for at least the last 20, if not longer, I have been rewriting that New Year's resolution and failing.
Wow.
Yeah. And it owned me. And I hated that because I am very strong, do very much care about my body and my family. But every year at New Year's Eve, how could I not write that into my year ahead? So I would, I'm going to accomplish this. I'm going to graduate from this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to finally stop smoking. I'd put it all in there, and everything else, all my other goals I could smash. And that one was a failure. It was done and dead in the water by March of every year.
Hi everyone, this is Nasya Davos, and welcome to this episode of Ask an Ex. Every Ask an Ex episode features an inspiring ex-smoker who succeeded with the CBQ method and who shares their personal experience and unique perspective on quitting smoking. The ex I have with me today joined our CBQ program and quit smoking after 37 years. She's also an advanced practice nurse, wellness coach, and she's here to tell you how she did it. Please welcome Kay Cooney. Hi, Kay. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure to be with you. I really admire you, and I'm so grateful to you and your program.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for taking the time to come here and share your journey. So you have been a non-smoker since the 1st of December, 2019.
Yes.
Congratulations.
I claimed that date. So that was the date of my marriage that ended in divorce. So what I wanted to do was reclaim that as a positive day instead of a day that made me sad. So I purposely chose that day. And I think that gave it an extra level of, importance, that you didn't want to stumble and have to repick another day. It was that day I needed to reclaim.
I love that.
Yeah. Yes. It was. And I love knowing that that's such a positive day and a positive anniversary for me now, and not a negative anniversary.
A proper freedom date.
Yes, absolutely.
Wow. So you were smoking for 37 years. How did you start smoking?
So this is the craziest story in the whole wide world. So I grew up in a house of smokers and hated it. My parents smoked. Most of my siblings smoked. I was very athletic, and I was at United States Military Academy at the time, West Point. And we were so every morning was 10K runs, right? All the exercise. So one day on a Sunday, when I was feeling particularly defiant and sort of, just everything, being told what to do constantly just gets to you after a while. We pulled open the manual and we found this obscure thing that said you could smoke or chew tobacco. So we couldn't wear what we want. We couldn't say what we want. We couldn't eat what we want, but we could smoke. So a group of us went to the base store, and we picked up a pack of Newport Lights. And I had that pack for probably maybe 3 to 6 months, that one pack. And I would only light a cigarette when I wanted to assert my absolute independence, because the older upperclassmen who were always torturing us could do nothing about us smoking in our room, and according to the regs, which made them insane with anger. So it was a very passive aggressive, real wise guy sort of thing that I did. And my classmates would know to come if they really wanted to irritate an upperclassman. They'd come in and say, "Can I have a cigarette?" And I'm like, "Yep." So it started as a group cohesive way to annoy the people that were controlling us. Never in a million years did I ever think that it would turn into a 37-year habit, but it did. It did.
What a story.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. how most people. So my sister started smoking, behind the church in the parking lot, right? Is part of their teenage years.
Mhm.
I always fought all that. My addiction came from being, a brat in the military and trying to assert some independence.
Wow. And since then, over the last 37 years, did you try to quit smoking before?
Oh, girl. Okay. So there's the Russian hypnotist. There's acupuncture. There's acupressure. There's Chantix, Wellbutrin. There's every single year. Every New Year's Eve, I make a resolution, right? I like get a clean slate. I see January and the new year as really a symbolic chance to succeed and do things different. And for at least the last 20, if not longer, I have been rewriting that New Year's resolution and failing.
Wow.
Yeah. And it owned me. And I hated that because I am very strong, do very much care about my body and my family. But every year at New Year's Eve, how could I not write that into my year ahead? So I would, I'm going to accomplish this. I'm going to graduate from this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to finally stop smoking. I'd put it all in there, and everything else, all my other goals I could smash. And that one was a failure. It was done and dead in the water by March of every year.
Wow. This must have taken a huge toll on you, especially when you're someone who sets goals and achieves them. And it was that one thing that was not happening.
I was embarrassed. And as a nurse and as somebody who was a hospice leader, an educator, I was always embarrassed. So I never smoked in my home. I always smoked outside. I was always spraying myself to cover the smell. I was always chewing gum, right? I do this thing with my hair so it wouldn't be in my hair. Many people did not even know that I smoked. It was, I was ashamed.
Yeah.
I was deeply ashamed.
I get that. I mean, you're a nurse, you were smoking. I'm a psychologist, I was smoking. And when we're in a field where we help others, but we don't take care of ourselves the same way, this can create a lot of, internal conflict and shame.
Yeah, absolutely, positively. And the final straw for me was, so I was investing in some personal coaching with Richard Bliss Brooks, not a cheap venture. It was a 5 to 7 day women's retreat, 10 people, very one-on-one-ish, very intense in Lanai, Hawaii. It would be lots of travel, 12-hour travel, and it would be intense. And he's a very intense gentleman. And I made the decision that I wanted to apply for one of the 10 slots, and I did. And he was, God, I mean, he's almost like he's psychic. He zooms right in. He's like, tell me about your relationship with alcohol. And then he looks at me and he goes, you a smoker? Now, and the thing is, and I did not realize this either, people have already said to me that my voice has changed dramatically since I stopped smoking. I had no idea that it was changing my voice, right? That broke my heart. I'm like, oh God. So anyhow, so during the interview, he says, do you smoke? And I said, I do. And he said, well, okay. He said, so it's probably not the right time for you right now. He said, because anyone who's still engaging in negative self behaviors is probably not ready for high level coaching.
So he rejected you because of it?
Yes. And I said to him, okay, let's make a deal. If I come to you as a non-smoker, can I come? And he said, absolutely. I go, all right, well, I'm going to send my deposit. So that was June, I think, of last year, right? June of 2019. And I knew that I wanted that coaching and I wanted that time with him, and that and that he was absolutely right. He did not say it mean. He just said, well, I just don't think somebody who's abusing themselves is ready for the next level. So I was like, okay. And I was devastated inside. And I thought, do I want it bad enough to get rid of the smoking? Right. And the answer is absolutely positively. Yeah. So I sent my very large deposit to him, knowing in my heart of hearts I would do this.
And this lit a fire in your belly that I want to do this. And you already wanted to quit smoking. It's not like the desire was created suddenly. You've been trying all this time, but this was, the last push.
Yes. We deserve to be free, right? We're here for a short while. We're supposed to be having the life we're supposed to have. I was missing half of life by being out in the smoking area, right? You go to a restaurant with your spouse and you're like, oh, hold on, I'm going to go outside and smoke. You're at an event with your kids. Hold on, I'm going to go over here and hide and smoke. Like it hijacks your life.
Yes, yes, absolutely. And not only time-wise, but also mental health-wise. The stress, having to worry about the smell, when is the next cigarette, it really dominates you.
Yes.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yes. So it was that perfect storm of things and the waking up and realizing that I, even for a moment, hesitated to give up on a chance of a lifetime, that I was good enough to be accepted into this coaching, except for my chosen habit of smoking. And I was like, wow, that's really sick. And that was when I'm like, and he said to me, well, there's programs out there. I suggest you start looking and go find one. And I did.
And that's
right.
how you found.
And that's how I found it. Yes.
So what made you decide to try this program? What made you think this is a good fit for you?
So I had watched a couple of your pre-movies, right? I think the first thing for pre-videos, the first thing for me was that you were an ex-smoker. I know this is going to sound, I'm such a city kid. I'm not going to follow you if you haven't lived my stress and my struggles, right? That's just not going to happen. You got to be in the trenches with me.
Yes.
So that was the first thing. The second thing was the terminology and what was going on, how you chose to use this, the whole visualize. So in my own business and growing my own wellness business, it is all about visualizing the who I want to be and where I want to go, and then backing myself into that. So everything you said is out there for every other aspect of our life. Right. So using visualizing wellness, visualizing being a non-smoker, visualizing all this stuff, it's been applied to so many other industries, but to see it finally put with smoking, that was it for me. Yeah. There was a no hesitation. As soon as I was listening to you, the skin, stood up on I got my goosebumps, and I'm like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. All right, this is good.
And it was.
So I have to tell you, so I think stopping smoking, the work up to the stopping smoking for me was harder than the food or the alcohol. And it really is a tough addiction to kick, no doubt about it. It was emotional. I was crying. I was cranky going up to the days of. But as I was following along, did all the work in the workbooks, watched all the videos, what I realized was I ended up almost quitting, well, pretty much quitting the day before. Like, because once you get to that point where like you're done. But I actually remember smoking a cigarette that night because I really wanted 12/1 to be my anniversary, and I was wedded to that date. So, but as you're following along, you find yourself, oh my God, this is so funny. So now you have the log and you say, every time you smoke a cigarette, I want you to write down why. Yeah. Okay. So the first thing I write is in my log, oh my God, I wish I got to find this for you and take a picture. So the first thing I wrote was taking a break from work, focusing, you taking a cigarette break to focus, right? Then the next time I'm like, okay, focusing or distracting or relaxing, right? And then I actually write one because I'm freaking bored and I'm an addict, right? And then the comments about why I was smoking the cigarette in the journal were just like, because I'm an idiot, because this is ridiculous. There is no reason. I don't want this. I don't need this, right? It annoyed me that you wanted me to write down why I was smoking every cigarette, because it was embarrassing. It was like, because I don't.
It is very annoying. It is very annoying.
It's so annoying. And it was so effective. And I was like, okay. I got you. I hear you. I see what you're doing over here. Right. So it was just one of those but each step. So for people to think you can skip a step or, oh, I don't have to do that. I mean, you really brilliantly have thought of everything. And it's one of those things that people just need to get quiet and surrender and trust that this is the program. This does work. Do the steps and you're going to be fine.
Great advice. And it's exactly what you said. You need to trust the process, because many times we get in our own way and we say, we put some resistance, which is normal at the beginning. But what you said, yeah, trust the process.
Yes.
I love that.
And I started and stopped many times, right? So I knew that my drop dead quick date was on 12/1. But up before that, I purchased the program. I went in, I looked at it, I watched videos, I downloaded things, I made a nice folder. Like I really sort of played and zhuzhed with it. I didn't just do the, okay, thanks, here's my money, and I'm going to start tomorrow. It became part of a whole process for me. And it was reaching out to my friend that does emotional release and said to her, help me try and locate anything I'm not aware of internally to release my attachment to smoking. Then I went and I got, made sure I had all essential oils that were related with calming as well as fighting addiction. Black pepper oil.
I want to ask you more about the essential oils, because I know people want to hear about that, and you're an expert on this.
So I really do think that part of my success with both sobriety and smoking was the oils. And because I believe that when we stop, 99% of us, when we stop something, pick up something else.
Yeah.
Right? We're trading. At some point, you got to stop trading because you're not getting any healthier. You're just getting crazier. And for me, it was sort of like, if essential oils are what I'm picking up versus scotch or a cigarette, I've at least leveled up, right? Yeah. And understanding and doing the work from a nurse perspective of, okay, what do these have to offer? Black pepper is a tremendous oil in terms of addiction and addictive behavior. And literally what I would do is I'd put a drop on my thumb and hold it to the roof of my mouth for about 2 minutes, and all cravings will go.
So that's very interesting, because I know cayenne pepper, like when you're not an oil, but when you eat it, this helps because it releases endorphins.
Yes.
Because of the spiciness. Is that why black pepper works?
Yes. And it also engages it satisfies the dopamine system, right? So a lot of the things with oils, so the oils that seem to be helpful and supportive, black pepper, lavender, peppermint, eucalyptus, certain eucalyptuses interact with the dopamine system.
Okay.
So without throwing in sugar, right? I actually gained no weight at all when I stopped smoking. The weight gain came much later with COVID. And now I've since, done the undo that, right? You're like, but it allowed me to quit smoking without substituting it negatively with food, or sugar or whatever. So it was the using oils that, one, satisfied the dopamine response, but also two, so aromatherapy is a 2,000-year-old science of inhaling, right? And us as smokers, right? Please, when you think about how we know better than anybody. I know who smokes now. I'm like a hound dog. I can smell somebody smoking 2 blocks away, right? We're very tuned into smell of things, including our own. When you replace that with something pleasant that actually calms you, cigarettes never calmed any of us down.
Yeah. On the contrary, it's the deep breathing that relaxes us, not the cigarette itself, because in order to take down the smoke, we have to change our breathing and make it deep and slow, which we know helps with stress. Absolutely. Yeah. So smelling something pleasant. So you mentioned some essential oils. Is there a specific way to use them? What is the best?
So lots of, right. So, and I always had my, my bottle in my hand, right? Yeah. Right. It was like, okay, I can do this. I can do this. So there's one, when you're trying to kill the craving, black pepper for me, hands down, was the best. Take a drop, hold it to the roof of your mouth, which is your quickest way up there to your limbic system. Off you go. Another way is to simply, sorry, what have I got, Frankie? Simply putting a drop in your hand,
Yeah.
right? 1, 2, 3. Hold it up and sit and deep breathe. And then do that, 5 or 6 very slow breaths.
Yes. Okay.
That's sort of like the equivalent of doing like heroin, right? That is right straight to your brain. That is no messing around. I'm really stressed out. I feel like I need a cigarette or whatever. That's the, let's go right to the olfactory limbic system and shut down all that craving and that awfulness. Just sitting still. Everyone can do that, right? So people think of essential oils and they think of, the diffuser and this or that. But this is, how do we do this on the go and keep it cost effective, if you will? The other thing I did was I bought a wooden cigarette and a wooden pipe, looks like a wooden pipe, and I would put essential oils on cotton and stick it in it, because there were times I was missing the hand thing.
Yeah.
Right. Now I did not want to do the vape. I did not want any kind of crap. So I found this wonderful little product, put my essential oils on the cotton. And if I was really cranky or grouchy and losing it, I'd sit there and I'd just do that. I was very careful not to lean on that, but to have that as just part of my arsenal, because I didn't want to just change out one habit for running around looking like an idiot, smoking a wooden pipe. But it satisfied that mouth. And it was another way that I got the essential oils in. And it made me realize the beauty of that pipe was, as I quit and as my lungs were clearing out and getting more and more back to baseline, I could feel the eucalyptus deeper and deeper and deeper inside of me. And it was almost like a reward system that when I first did it, I noticed nothing. A week later, I'm like, oh, I can feel that right about to here. Each week it got deeper and deeper. And I was like, this is your lungs. Your body's amazing. Your body is so much more forgiving than we ever give it credit for.
Yeah, you mentioned that once when you posted about your 1-year anniversary. You said that I am shocked by our body's ability to heal. So what healing have you experienced, except from the breathing, which is of course so important?
Everywhere. I mean, blood pressure, skin, the lungs, everything. And again, as a nurse, one of my big fears that I would never say out loud was, I worried about what I was doing to my circulatory system. I was worried about the stress in my heart. I was worried about all of those things. Those were my dirty secrets that I kept inside to myself and felt awful about. And I never expected that when I quit, I would get my ability to do things back, my windedness, my breath, my body, I didn't think I'd get them back. And I didn't think I was worthy of it. I was happy just to be a non-smoker. So even if I still had problems and I coughed and I didn't get myself back, that was going to be the price I had to pay. That was my mindset.
Yeah.
As opposed to being willing to put out there, I deserve all
that is
this
good.
Coming back onto me, which is what I got, right? I have to keep remembering to ask for sky's the limit, right? I'm still very Irish Catholic. So I go, well, I'll just settle for not smoking, right? But don't, because your body will do the work and it will repair. And you don't get punished because you fell into a bad cycle of addiction or dopamine. That's not the world that's not how the universe works.
Yeah, I like that you said that. Our body is a miracle, basically, that's carrying us through life, and it can heal if we only let it. All we have to do is let it.
Yes.
And it's gonna do its work. And yes, we deserve to be healthy. We deserve to be free. We don't have to be miserable because we quit smoking. We can be happy. We can be smoke free. We can be everything.
Yeah.
But that's something that's easier to see looking back, when you have cultivated the mindset that I get what I am and what I deserve. But when you are a smoker, when you're in the addiction, it's very hard to see. So thank you for bringing that forward and explaining it. So important.
So important. And I have to tell you, I remember when I was in the prep phase and getting ready to do this, before listening to the videos, I was envisioning myself as being a miserable ex-smoker, right? I know a lot of them. I know people all the time that say, oh, I quit and 20 years later I was back, and blah, blah, blah. It's impossible to quit, right? You hear all the negative, negative, negative. And one of the classes, one of the lessons was really, why would you choose to visualize yourself like that? Right. And again, it was like, oh, right. Okay. Let that go. Let that go. I can be a happy ex-smoker. And have been. I'm sure you hear this all the time, but I mean this from the bottom of my heart. I credit you with saving my life. I really do.
Thank you so much. But you are the one who did it. You made it happen.
I know I had to do the hard work, but the technique was brilliant. So I'm an advanced practice nurse. So I look at things from a clinical perspective. I've offered smoking cessation classes, ironically, to patients, things like that. So I know what's out there in terms of resources, in terms of the gum, the patches, the programs, the cold turkey, the this, the that. And I always felt empty when I was offering it to people, because I knew no matter what I gave them, it was going to be a struggle and a hit or miss. And it came down to if they had it in them to fight the urges and the impulse. That would make or break them. So, and over the last few years, I've made many changes in my life. And it was all about the same process that you use, right? It's that whole visualize wellness, visualize health, visualize yourself as a non-smoker. So the second I heard it, it was like, that's it. That's it. This works. So I was very excited to try it.
Well, thank you. It means so much, especially coming from someone who is a nurse and someone who knows what's out there. And yeah, that's the great thing about the method. It comes from experience and from the success of other people, of what has worked with other things. So yeah, thank you so much.
Yes. Yeah. And I have to tell you, so it was my last vice. I had stopped drinking. I had completely and radically changed my diet to get off of my diabetic meds. And the smoking. So what happens when you stop drinking, you smoke more.
Yeah.
Then you stop eating bad foods, so you smoke more, right? I'm entitled to the cigarette because I can't eat good fun food, right? Yes. Those are the messages we tell ourselves. So when it came time to quit smoking, and of course, I had no idea when I chose December 1st of 2019 that COVID was coming around the corner. Because if I had known, I don't know if I'd have been brave enough to do that. Yeah. But I did, and I kept with the mindset. And the big challenge for me was I no longer had food or alcohol to lean back into. Mm-hmm. The things that we all go to, right? When we stop smoking, we pick up all these wonderful bad habits. Then you add the additional layer of COVID on top of it. Yeah. And I got to tell you, I have not had one puff of cigarette since 12/1/19, my quit day. There has been no relapse. There's been not even one day when I struggled. There are moments that pops into my head, right? But the whole mindset, the whole visualization of, picture yourself a non-smoker. Talk about freedom and the lifting of all the fears that you have, especially as a nurse and as a smoker. It was like I sat and smoked, and subconsciously I sat and waited for my cancer. It was an awful feeling.
I know, but I mean, you did it. And many smokers, we try to take some of the life control back by saying, oh, it has to be on my own terms. I have to die from something, so at least I can control it. And
right, that's the crazy mind.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. But it's not that crazy, And I know you worked with people at the end of their life journey, so I'm sure you've seen so much. But how many times we try to take control of something that we have no control over, which is life and death, and we create all these rationalizations that give us the illusion of control. So yeah, it's not that crazy, but it's very real.
Yes. And that's what it was. My smoking was, you know, it was how I controlled things. Very, very much so. And it was also, and this was so odd when I sat and did a, 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 a a breathing technique, an emotional release technique with one of my friends before this. Basically, I was stacking the deck. I was making sure I had done everything, thought of everything, thought of all my anchors, all my cues, all the things that triggered me. And one of the things that came up was the smoking was like my last attachment to my dad who had passed. And one of the things I never realized was my mom and dad both smoked. And when my mom stopped smoking, she became a fruitcake. She was awful to live with. And she wanted my dad to quit smoking. So she would do horrible things to him. Like she would spray him with Lysol, like as he was smoking. She would collect all of his cigarette butts and she put them in a shoebox and made a tomb out of them. Right. Like she constantly was doing crazy things to
Very
get
creative.
yes, she was a wonderfully creative woman. And she would do this crazy stuff to try and like dramatically drive him into not smoking. And my dad was, you know, he was a big, gentle giant and he never took the bait. And what I equated with him was that quiet resilience, obstinate of just sitting there, no matter what she did or what she said, and she'd whack him in the back of the head with the kitchen towel or whatever, and hit like he was fully enjoying the cigarette, not knowing it. That I had an anchor to. I loved the way he just owned it, right? He didn't apologize, and when he was ready to quit, he did quit, right?
Wow.
And he was a cold turkey one, right? But he was not going to quit because she told him. And part of my smoking was my holding on to that admiration. But my dad was way more than just a stubborn man refusing to quit smoking to my mom, right? And but you don't know what all these things are inside until you do these journeys and find out.
Yes, yes. So, Kay, for you, what is the secret to becoming a happy non-smoker? If you could boil it down to something.
Make that decision and stick to it. When ignore the negative, ignore the, oh my God, I quit smoking. It was the hardest thing I ever did, people. Stay away from the I've quit 20 times and I've never succeeded, people. Don't look back in your own rearview mirror, right? It doesn't matter how many times you ever failed because you didn't do this program, right? So let it all go. Know that this is possible. It's doable. You will not suffer through this if you actually listen and engage, right? And plan it. Let the people in your life know. Plan your success, right? Have the things that you need in your house, the toothpicks, the oils, the things that you need to soothe yourself. Have a plan. Know what you're going to do when that craving hits, right? Have a plan. So when the craving hits, I'm going to go out and ride my bike. I'm going to go out and walk. I'm going to call a friend. I'm going to sit and I'm going to inhale my oil. I'm going to eat gnaw on a carrot stick. Have a plan, right? But with some thoughtfulness in the notebook, right? And all of the tools that you're giving people, it's so doable. I wish I could give others that are still smoking how I feel today, so that they would go, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready to go for it. I'm done. And 1 month became 2, 2 months became 3, right? It just happened. And if you can do this during COVID, this incredibly stressful, disruptive time in our lives and in our society, it can be done. It so can be done. And that's the thing that's worrisome right now. Addiction and addictive behavior is up 30%. Yeah. big time. This is a problem. So people are drinking too much. They're smoking too much. They're putting their weight up 30%. This is the critical time. What you offer people is so valuable right now in this moment for getting themselves back on track.
Oh,
And we
thank
have
you.
time to do it. You
Yes.
don't. If anyone says to me right now, I don't have the time for this, that's a big fat lie. We have all been given the gift of time through COVID, more time with our families, more time at home, more time to focus on ourselves. You have the time right now, even if you are commuting still to go to work. There's nothing going on at night times or weekends, right? So you have the time and the ability to plan and to commit to the greatest gift you'll ever give yourself. Of all of the behavioral changes that I have made, to me, the biggest one, the one that I'm the most proud of, is the being a non-smoker.
Well, thank you for sharing that. And you've made so many changes. You quit alcohol, right?
Yes.
You went off your blood pressure meds naturally. Is that what you told me?
All of my my insulin, my blood pressure meds, my cholesterol meds, did a complete radical diet change.
Wow.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
you quit smoking after doing all that.
Yes. And it was this,
Yeah.
change this, right? I never knew that our brains were such liars, right? I thought they're our brains, right? They're a smart organ. We need to pay attention to them. They know what we want and what we need and what's best for us. Lies, 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 lies. You need to retrain your brain.
Yes, exactly. Our brain is so biased, and there is this prehistoric lizard brain that can be so easily hijacked by hits of dopamine, by hits of a quick rush. So yeah, you have to reprogram our brain.
We are basically being led. Our leader is the lizard brain, right? It really is. And we give into that and don't understand, the whole dopamine thing. So when I was in rehab, one of the things that I saw, and I was like, this is what made me start to understand the whole dopamine thing. They were putting out massive bowls, like troughs of candy and sugar products for the people that were withdrawing. And it was for them to get their dopamine fix.
Yeah.
And I was sitting there watching like adults putting two hands in, grabbing, right, and satiating themselves. And I'm like, and I wasn't a candy person, right? That wasn't my thing. And I didn't understand that. And I didn't eat that way even at that point. And I was shocked. And that was the graphic thing for me of, okay, what is going on with the whole dopamine thing in your brain? And how do you retrain it and stop believing your brain knows best?
Yes.
And I just feel like your program was good. It was simple. It was well put together. It was thorough. There was no one aspect of it that I could look back and say, geez, I wish she had done this differently, right? And I mean no arrogance in that. Obviously, you're brilliant in what you put together. But as a scientist and a clinician, I'm always looking for how would I do that better?
Yeah,
right?
and with a critical eye as well, of course.
Yeah. And with the thought process of how do I make this easier for somebody else? I almost feel like it's the upstream thing. So when I look in the chat groups and I see these people like still suffering, I just want to yell at them. Would you go watch the first video? Like just stop sitting in here, negatively perseverating, right? There's, after the first video, you're like, okay, she's taking me to a good spot in my head.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing that. That's great advice. Just get started.
Yes.
And Kay, I want to ask you something else too. So in your experience as an advanced practice nurse, you help many people with the end of their life journey. And I want to ask you, what did you learn from those people that stayed with you? And this may not be directly related to quitting smoking, but I feel it's somehow related because we go through life and we invest our energy and our time to things that don't matter. And we use those things as an excuse to smoke, to have a drink, to overindulge. So I guess what matters in the eyes of someone who's at the end of their life?
I will tell you, it is universal. And having been at the bedside of thousands, right? So my career spanned at about 25, 30 years. And being at the bedside of thousands, work didn't matter, things didn't matter, people mattered,
Hmm.
family mattered, love mattered. Um, Memories, the trips, right? The taking the trips, the doing amazing things. Those were the things that mattered. And isn't that the same message of COVID, right? What matters right now? It is your family. It is about love. It is about the memories. It is about your time and investment in that. Um, sometimes in Hollywood, you see these movies, right, where somebody's dying. There's one with Jack Nicholson, and he's on his computer and he's on his laptop and he's working right up until the final minute they put him in the ground. No, that's not what's happening. What I realized was when I started, the more and more I worked with people that were dying, the more and more blunt and direct I got in my own communication, because dying people have no time for BS. The window is short and they get to the point. So you learn to communicate very differently when you're communicating with them, because they can smell fake, they can smell a liar, they can smell somebody who's being evasive. They want to get to the point. And over those years, I had some like just poignant, like one of probably the most dramatic thing that somebody, we used to ask folks, what is it, what is part of them processing their own personal grief? What are you going to miss the most?
Mm-hmm.
And sitting and being present for people to answer that question and keeping your heart open. Oh my God, talk about like so difficult. But that is why I can answer the question. And it was always love, my spouse, my children, my grandchildren, my pets, right? It was never, nobody ever said, boy, oh boy, did I have the best career, right? And I get that we all want to make a difference in people's lives, but it is about family.
Wow, that is powerful and a lot to think about for me, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I think like for everyone, because what matters, we use smoking to push down our annoyance instead of communicating it directly and stop wasting time. We smoke because this person bothered us instead of, feeling gratitude. This person is in our life. So, and like you said, very, very similar to what we learned from COVID, which is about gratitude and reflection and what matters. So,
Yeah.
yeah, thank you for answering that.
Absolutely, positively. And we're only here, this isn't a dress rehearsal, right? We're only here for this one time. And I was rolling over and giving up my belly to the universe, and rolling over and dying and choosing cigarettes. You know, life wears you down sometimes. And again, your brain wants easy. Your brain doesn't want a lot of disruption and challenge. Well, if your life is not making you fully full of joy and happiness, and you don't feel good about what it is you're doing, take your life back. And if that, and starting smoking is taking your stopping smoking, taking your life back. Yeah.
I love
Yeah.
that. Okay, thank you so much for sharing your experience and your advice and your perspective. You're just incredible. And I love your mission around wellness. It's something the world definitely needs right now. And
Thank you.
yeah, and thank you for all the fantastic tips you shared. They will help many on their journey. And I will also add your info and your website in the description of this video so that people can reach out if they want to see you, learn more about what you do and all those things.
Absolutely. And if people want an accountability buddy, somebody that they can reach out to, or have reach out contacts, that is something that I would be more than happy to do as a give back with the gratitude for the program, honestly. So I thank you for your brilliance in this and your team, and giving me an opportunity to get back on track.
Of course. Thank you so much. Thank you. And thank you for being here. And for everyone who's watching, leave a comment below and let Kay and I know what you're taking away from her journey that can help you in yours. We're looking forward to reading your comments. And thank you all for being here. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.